And thank you everyone for joining us for today's webinar. And welcome back to the series of webinars co-hosted by the Department of Buildings and ASHRAE New York City. A big thank you to the DOB team for bringing today's presenters together. And today the Department of Buildings, along with Edison, National Grid, New York City Sustainability Help Center, and New York City Accelerator will discuss this year's benchmarking process, review common reporting steps, and provide some more important updates. Today's webinar will last approximately 2 hours, and the video recording will be available for future viewing on both ASHRAE and the DOB websites. And for those who are new to our webinars and are joining us for the first time, I just wanted to mention that all previous video recordings and presentation slides from previous webinars are available on the DOB and ASHRAE New York City websites. If you look into the chat, my colleagues will be sharing the links in the chat now, and you can also access them by going directly to ashraeny.org and clicking on events and then DOB Sustainability Series. As for today's presentation, the slides are available in the handouts section. There may be some slight changes to the slides or some of the slides. So if that happens, we will send an email update to all attendees. And once the final presentation is posted to our website, you will be available to download it also. And for now, you can download and view the presentation from the handouts or materials tab, which is most likely located at the top of your webinar window. For some of you, it may be at the bottom, depending on what device you're connecting from. And if that doesn't work for you, you can go directly to ashraeny.org and click on events. Find today's webinar, and the materials of the presentation should be also uploaded to our website. You can download it directly from here, and you can follow it during the presentation. And just a few more housekeeping items before I turn it over to our presenters. As always, everyone except for the speakers is in listening only mode. You can ask questions in the field called chat or questions, again, depending on your device. And we will be answering questions in real time posted to the chat during the webinar. If for any reason the chat function doesn't work for you, or if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to email your questions directly to the email addresses, which will be now also posted in the chat. And let me just quickly mention those emails and help you categorize your questions. So for general compliance questions, you can use sustainability@buildings.nyc.gov. And then for benchmarking related questions, it's help@nycsustainability.org. And then for all BIM related questions, it's BIM_LL97@buildings.nyc.gov. And those were all our housekeeping items for today. So please allow me to introduce our speakers next. And we have Emily Hoffman, Linda Tam, and Ming Zhao from all from New York City Department of Buildings, and then Gabriela Scott and Laziza Rakimova from Edison, Luis Rizzo and Becky Badalato from National Grid, Lizzie McNevin from New York City Accelerator, and finally Mashrat Ahmed from New York City Sustainability Help Center. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar. And now I'm going to pass it over to Emily Hoffman from New York City Department of Buildings. Hi, Emily. How are you? Thanks for joining.
Good morning. Thank you, Luke, so much for having us. And thank you to ASHRAE for hosting this event and all of our sustainability events last year and this year. We want to welcome everyone today to our 2026 annual benchmarking forum. As Luke said, I am Emily Hoffman. I'm the director of OBEEP at Department of Buildings. Next slide, please. So we are entering the 2026 benchmarking season for reporting the 2025 calendar year data. Last year, because it was the inaugural year of Local Law 97 reporting, we had extended the deadlines of the sustainability laws. It's important to note that this year we will be enforcing the statutory deadlines of benchmarking and the other sustainability laws. So you see on my screen this, or you see on the screen, you're all screen the timeline for the deadlines for this year. This is up on our website also. What this means is that the benchmarking deadline is May 1st, 2026, and just as in prior years, and all of the quarterly deadlines, following that. So the second quarterly deadline is August 1st, 2026. The third quarterly deadline is November 1st, 2026. And the fourth quarterly deadline is February 1st, 2027. Just note that if you're just real quick, I'm going to touch on the other laws. If you're filing Local Law 88 compliance reports, those are due May 1st, 2026. For Local Law 97 filing, there is an automatic grace period that goes until June 30th. The grace period applies to all buildings, and there is an optional extension. If you applied for that extension by that grace period deadline of June 30th, it extends the deadline until August 29th of 2026. Next slide, please. I just want to note that last year there was concern whether Energy Star Portfolio Manager would be funded. I want to reiterate that ESPM is fully funded from the federal government, and it will remain the platform to report both benchmarking and 97. So the utility data and property use types and gross floor area, that's all input into Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and that information transfers over to BEAM. So high level, the reporting process is going to remain the same this year as it was last year. Benchmarking relies on that Energy Star Portfolio Manager and sharing your data and your account with DOB's ESPM account. Once that data is shared with DOB's account, that data will transfer into the BEAM system. Last year it was transferring nightly. We've upped that to, happen a little more frequently. Many of you have shared last year and are continuing to share with us. So, once we trigger the polls for 2025, that will enter into the BEAM system. We'll be covering access to the BEAM portal and all of that later this month in our Local Law 97 reporting kickoff. I want to highlight one of the major issues that we encountered last year was that DOB was receiving duplicate ESPM connections for a single property. To resolve this, it requires either one of the property data administrators to unshare their account, or requires an affidavit process with the owner and, indicating to DOB which is the proper, which reporter has a contract with the owner. So it's clear that many firms are sharing properties that they're not contracted with. If this continues into this reporting year, DOB will report these firms to the Department of Investigations, that's DOI, for fraudulent reporting. So ensure that you're only reporting the properties that you are contracted with, because if this becomes an issue, we will refer these firms to DOI. With that, my team, Linda Tam and Ming Zhao, are going to go into the details of the reporting process. And, thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Emily. And now we will be hearing from Linda Tam from the Department of Buildings. Hi, Linda.
Thank you, Emily. Hello. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Luke. My name is Linda Tam. I'm the program manager for benchmarking and integrating. I'm going to go into this year's benchmarking requirements. This is an overview of latest information that I'll go over today. Again, let's just like we mentioned, the benchmarking deadline is May 1st. We're going back to the regular quarterly deadlines. The alignment of the sustainability laws is still in progress. Benchmarking compliance is still on the BBL level. For the benchmarking data submission, again, we're continuing with the property sharing in ESBM and BEAM. For those that have unshared properties, you will have to reshare them again. For confirmation emails, we're going to go over the 4 different types of emails received during and after the property sharing process. The standard IDs enter in ESBM for the BBL and BIN, and the property setup must follow a certain format. If the standalone IDs does not match our criteria, the property data will not transfer into BEAM correctly. I'll also be going over the BEAM labels for standalone properties and related metrics for data quality review, and all benchmarking violation challenges and payments must be submitted through DOB now. Next slide, please. For benchmarking and energy grading requirements, properties on the local law 84 covered buildings list are required to report the annual energy and water usage to the city by May 1st every year. The 2026 covered building list, or CBL, will be available on our webpage soon. The deck will also be updated later with the new CBL once that is out. All these sustainable law requirements are notified by Department of Finance on the property tax bill in November. All of DOF's property tax bills can be found on their website. And as per DOF records, a local law for a covered building is a single building on a tax lot that's over 25,000 gross square feet, or multiple buildings on the same tax lot that together exceeds 100,000 gross square feet. And once again, the first benchmarking deadline for the 2025 calendar year data is May 1st. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I'm sorry. To submit the benchmarking data, we're continuing with the property sharing method again in ESBM and receiving the data through the BEAM platform. The reporting template was discontinued last year, so please do not send any reports in ESBM. Once the properties are shared, the data will be transferred to BEAM. Changes made to the shared property in ESBM will be updated in BEAM automatically. Since the property sharing process typically can't be completed in the same day, you should share your properties now. Don't wait until the last day on May 1st. There's no need to wait until you have all your data because BEAM will update automatically as long as the property is shared and not disconnected. Next slide, please. For the property sharing in ESBM, it's a 2-part process. Both parts must be completed. For those that have already done this and have not disconnected, you do not have to do this again. If you have disconnected or unshared properties, you must repeat both parts again. The property sharing steps are on our ESBM user guide available on our webpage, and the Sustainability Help Center will also cover property sharing step by step later. When sharing properties in ESBM, please remember that the entire campus, including the parent and all child properties, must be shared. I think, can you go back to the previous slide? Sorry. Yes. So when selecting the access permissions, all meters must be selected and shared. And the property can be shared by anyone that has access to it, but only the property data administrator will receive the confirmation email. So make sure you know who the administrator is and they're using a valid email address. Next slide, please. There are 4 different confirmation emails you can receive from BEAM as you go through the property sharing process. 2 for ESBM and 2 for BEAM. If you've done this last year, you will receive these emails again unless you have to do the property sharing steps again. The first email confirms that the account is connected with DOB in ESBM. This is sent to the ESBM user that made the account share request. After receiving this, you'll need to go back into ESBM to share your properties. The second email confirms that the property share was received and accepted by DOB in ESBM, and this is sent to the property data administrator only. Next slide, please. The next 2 emails involve ESBM property data pull into BEAM. After the property share is accepted, BEAM will retrieve the data from ESBM and check the BBL and BIN in the standard IDs. If there are any formatting issues or the BBO bin is not on the current covered buildings list, the property data administrator will receive this BBO bin error email every week until the error is corrected or the property is unshared. And the last email confirms that the DOB has received your property's benchmarking data. In other words, the property has passed the BBO bin check and the data has been pulled into Beam. This is sent to the property data administrator and any associated DOB now payment contacts. This is your proof of benchmarking submission. We will start receiving 2025 calendar year data in Beam soon, so keep an eye out for this email. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to head into data quality review now. All benchmarking data will be reviewed for completeness and accuracy. After you successfully share the property, the next step you have to do is review your data in ESBM and Beam if you have access in Beam. If the data is insufficient, you must correct the data in ESBM before the quarterly deadlines. Failure to correct the data may result in a violation. If you need assistance with ESBM, you can contact the Sustainability Help Center by phone or email. Next slide, please. Okay, starting with the ESBM standard IDs, this is related to the BBL bin error email. The standard ID used in your property profile is the borough, block, and lot, or BBL. This 10-digit BBL can be found on the covered buildings list. This must be 10 digits only. Do not use dashes or other symbols. You could follow the example shown here or copy the BBL directly from the CBL. For campuses with multiple BBLs on the parent, use a semicolon only to separate the BBLs. Do not use any other symbols or spaces. The other standard ID used is the building identification number, also known as the BIN. Each building has a unique 7-digit BIN. To find the BIN, you could search by the BBL on DOB Now and on the covered buildings list. And again, for campuses, you can only use the semicolon as a separator. Next slide, please. A standalone property is for a single building only, meaning that the standard IDs must only contain one 10-digit BBL and one 7-digit BIN. If it's not set up properly, the property will not transfer into Beam correctly. It will not get that last Beam confirmation email for proof of benchmarking submission. If it's truly a single building on the tax lot that has multiple bins listed on the CBL, or well, these are usually obsolete bins, please submit a CBL dispute ticket on Beam to remove the bins from the CBL and report under the one active bin only. For National Grid properties, if the building has multiple service addresses, please email us for guidance on the standard IDs for the bin. And just generally, if there are any issues with the BBL or bin, please email us. Next slide, please. Campus reporting is required for a single BBL with multiple buildings or bins and multiple buildings on adjacent tax lots that share energy. So on the parent level, the standard IDs must include all the child properties BBLs and bins. All the child properties data must be aggregated on the parent property level. So that's the energy and water usage, property use types, gross floor area, number of buildings, active meters, and so on. A child property must be created for each BBL or bin. So that's one bin per child property only. Like standalones, you cannot have more than one 7-digit bin on the child property. Each child property must have specific gross floor area and property type breakdowns for that building. So the two samples here, we have one for each campus setup. In both cases, each child property only has one BBL, one bin, and all the child properties BBLs and bins are on the parent, separated by a semicolon. If your buildings can't be set up this way, please email us. Next slide, please. The gross floor area definition is directly from the benchmarking rule here. It basically means that the gross floor area should not be the same as Department of Finance's gross square footage on the covered buildings list. This also applies to Local 84 now. Note that the property type breakdown for standalone properties must still follow local 84 requirements. That's for Energy Star scoring. And additional property type geographic breakdown for local 97 may be entered in BEAM. Next slide, please. Again, for property types, this affects Energy Star score for energy grading. If the building is on the local 84 covered buildings list, the property types in ESBM must report it according to local 84, not 97. For a single building to receive an Energy Star score, generally the building's eligible primary property type must make up over 50% of the building. Property types less than 5,000 gross floor area must be combined with the primary property type. Again, additional property types for local 97 may be entered in BEAM. Specifically for campuses only, property types may be entered in ESPM in accordance with local 97. When selecting your property type, make sure you find the closest match for your building. You can only choose other from a specific property type category. You should also not self-select mixed-use property type. ESBM will automatically calculate this for your building if there isn't a single-use type that is over 50% of building. The number of units that's specifically for multifamily housing. Make sure you're entering the correct number of units for the most accurate Energy Star score. And that pretty much goes for anything enter in the property use types. Make sure you're not using default values. Next slide, please. These are the specific metrics to review in ESPM for data quality. For the number of buildings, the data must not be missing or enter a 0. So for campuses, the number of buildings and number of bins on the parent property must be consistent with the child properties. Site energy use, this is for energy, it should not be missing or enter a 0. Site UI, the value should be between 5 and 1,000. Metered areas for water and energy, that must be for the whole property. Municipally supplied potable water, this is for buildings required to report water usage. Data should not be missing or enter as 0. You should get the water data directly from the EP. Number of active energy meters total should be the same as the active meters used to compute metrics. And for all meters, it is recommended to get automated consumption data directly from the utilities. Next slide, please. So for users that have access to the property in the BEAM inventory, any potential data quality error labels for standalone properties of single buildings are available on the View by Property tab. This basically checks for the metric criteria from the previous slide. Starting with incorrect site UI, again, this has to be between 5 and 1,000. This metric is also affected by site energy use, so please review your energy meters for accuracy and check for any gaps or overlaps. Incorrect number of meters, no active meter should be excluded from the metrics, so please check your meter selections. Incorrect number of buildings for a standalone property, the building count must be 1. Again, this is for a single building. Did not report whole building energy data. This checks the meter areas metric for whole property. And for ineligible property type for local 84. In the list of property types, this cannot include other only. Again, it has to be for a specific property type. If necessary, please use the property notes in the ESBM to provide an explanation of the data quality errors. Next slide, please. For the duplicate PMID label, this indicates that multiple ESPM properties are currently shared for the same BBR bin. And we just went over this a little bit, but this has been an ongoing issue for benchmarking and energy grading for a while, and now it's affecting local 97 reporting. So for both local 84 and 97, only one ESPM property ID can be shared at any time. So there can't be more than one PMID shared for the same BBM bin. If there are different service providers for each law, both providers must work together on one PMID. Again, if you need help or guidance on resolving this this label, please email us. Next slide, please. For violations, non-compliant properties, both non-submission and submission of incomplete data may receive a benchmark violation. Again, benchmarking compliance is still on the BBL level. The notice of violation is mailed to the building owner's mailing address listed in DOF records. If you need to update the mailing address, please visit DOF's webpage. This is a new update in DOB now. All benchmarking violations, including owner runs issued on BIS, can be searched on DOB Now public portal. The penalty is $500 per benchmarking violation. This can be issued up to 4 times per year or for $2,000 total per year. Next slide, please. If the property receives a violation, it can be challenged for certain reasons, such as ownership change, new building without TCO, or full demolition. The challenge must be submitted in DOB Now within 30 days from the postmark violation date. Once the 30-day window has passed, you won't be able to challenge the violation DOB Now anymore. The benchmarking challenge request form is not accepted by email anymore. So basically, everything is on DOB Now. When submitting a challenge in DOB Now, make sure to save after each step and upload all required documents and click on the submit button at the end. Next slide, please. If you believe that your building should not be in the covered business list because of the gross square footage, you must contact the Department of Finance by email, including your email, the BBL, the owner's information, and an explanation of your dispute or RDB certification. Violations will remain open and continue to accumulate while DOF decides on this matter. Next slide, please. So all benchmarking violations are submitted our DOB Now. You can no longer make payments on e-filing anymore. Payments made by e-check can take up to 10 business days to be processed. Violations are automatically dismissed after the check is cleared. Payments paid by credit card are processed immediately with the 2% fee. If you need the violation dismissed immediately, please pay by credit card. And to check the violation status, you can go on the DOB Now public portal. Next slide, please. All the benchmarking updates are on the DOB Now service updates webpage. For more information on Local Law 84, you can visit our webpage. The ESPM user guide and the data quality beam labels are also on our webpage. Any new beam labels documents will also be uploaded on our webpage in the future. Next slide, please. Oh, yes. So next up is Local Law 33 energy grading. I'm going to go pass this over to my colleague Ming Zhao to go over the energy grading requirements this year.
Thank you, Linda. Before you begin, Ming, I just wanted to let everyone know, because we're seeing a lot of questions about the presentation. Everyone can download and view the presentation either from this webinar, so you can go to the handouts or materials section in the control panel of this webinar, depending on what device you are using or browser, and it should be at the top or bottom of your browser or control panel. Otherwise, you can go directly to ASHRAENY.org and then click on today's event, and the PDF is also uploaded there. Thank you so much, and now you will be hearing from me. Thank you. Thanks for your patience.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Linda. Good morning. My name is Ming. I'm the Sustainability Enforcement Analyst. I will give you a brief introduction on Local Law 33 energy grading on next couple slides. Owners of buildings listed on Local Law 84/2026 covered buildings list must obtain and display a building energy efficiency rating label within October 1st to 31st, 2026. The label includes a 1 to 100 Energy Star score and a corresponding letter grade. And the next slide. Here is an example of a building energy efficiency rating label. As you can see from an energy grade scale, the A, B, C, D grades with corresponding scores are clearly self-explanatory. I just want to emphasize the F grade here, that buildings which failed to submit the benchmarking data by May 1st, which is the first quarterly deadline, will receive an F grade. And the F grade label must be treated as other letter grade labels, which means you must obtain the F grade label from DOB Now public portal within October and display it throughout the whole compliance year. Only the N grade label is not required to be displayed because it's for the buildings which are exempt from benchmarking or not covered by the Energy Star program. Next slide. As we move ahead, I will talk about the steps of how to avoid getting an energy grading violation. First of all, submit your property's benchmarking data by May 1st of each year. Download the energy efficiency rating label from DOB Now public portal only. There are no other websites nor third-party software to obtain the label. The label available to be accessed on October 1st of each year. After downloading the label, you will receive a confirmation email from DOB Now as proof of compliance. Print and display the label in a conspicuous location near each public entrance by October 31st of each year. The label should be posted above the ground and be viewable to public. It cannot be hidden away in your office nor blocked by any object. The label can be printed in black and white, but not altered nor put any watermarks on it. Failure to download, print, and timely display the label results in a 1,250 E-grade violation, which is not our goal of this compliance. Next slide. Here are some common issues when downloading energy grade labels. We recommend you to use Google Chrome browser for better results. If in your browser privacy setting, enable pop-ups. If you submit a campus benchmarking report, download the labels for all available bins. Check if your building's lot number on the covered buildings list matches the lot number in DOB Now public portal. Because buildings with their lot change recently, the energy efficiency rating label could be assigned under either new or old lot, and could never be assigned under an obsolete bin. If you cannot find your label under the old lot and bin, please check all associate lots and bins. And send us an email if you encounter any issues that make you cannot access your label during the month of October. Starting November 1st, energy grade violations begin to be processed. If you email us to report a download issue later than October 31st, you will receive an E-grade violation for failure to timely access your label. Next slide, please. If you follow the compliance steps, but somehow you still receive an E-grade violation, let's see how to challenge it. First, log into DOB Now public portal. Do not email us to challenge your E-grade violation. There never was an E-grade challenge form, and I have seen someone using a benchmarking challenge form to file an E-grade challenge, and the benchmarking challenge form had been retired last year. So moving forward, challenge both benchmarking and E-grade violations in DOB Now public portal only. Follow the steps to locate your violation and save each steps before continuing. And don't forget to hit the submit button at the end. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, if your challenge is denied, the violation will be resolved solely by payment. Here are the steps of how to make a payment. It's very simple, just to remember, save each steps before continuing, and be aware that e-checks take 10 business days to be processed, and the credit card transactions could be processed immediately, but with 2% surcharge. We don't take physical checks, so please do not mail us a check for your benchmarking and e-grade violation. And lastly, to check the violation status, please visit DOB Now public portal. Next slide, please. Here are some additional information and resources regarding the details of Local Law 33 and the related FAQ. Please visit if you are interested. And now I pass to my colleague, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ming. Again, if you need assistance with ESPM benchmarking and integrating, please contact the New York City Sustainability Help Center by email or phone. EPA also offers courses and webinar trainings on ESPM on their website. And if you have any questions involving DOB, like DOB Now technical issues or following up on a DOB Now violation challenge request, again, that has to be on DOB Now, you can contact us by email at sustainability@buildings.nyc.gov. Next slide, please. If you have questions on other sustainability laws or including BEAM, please contact this email, beam_ll97@buildings.nyc.gov. Next slide, please. So again, the first step to avoiding a potential benchmarking violation is to share your properties now, followed by receiving the 2025 BEAM confirmation email, and then complete the data quality reviews and corrections by the quarterly deadline. And also in October, go on DOB Now to download and post a new energy grade label. That's it from DOB. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you, Ming. And now we will turn it over to Gabriela Scott from Edison. Hi, Gabriela. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Luke. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabriela Scott. I am the product owner of Edison's Building Energy Usage Portal. Next slide, please. On the agenda today, we have a two-part presentation. The first part, I'm going to provide an overview of the Building Energy Usage Portal and a quick demo. And then in the second part of the presentation, I'm going to provide some key information across changes to the portal, how to set up your property for success this season, how to report by BIN, and also where to find support within the portal. Finally, my colleague Laziza will touch on Edison incentives offered across different programs and measures. Next slide, please. So if you're a Edison customer, you will be quite familiar with the Building Energy Usage Portal. It's Edison's portal for receiving whole building aggregated usage data for properties across New York City and Westchester County. The portal was primarily built using AMI data, and data is automatically exported to Portfolio Manager for all properties that fall within the covered buildings list for Local Law 84 and Local Law 97. We also feature automated exports to Portfolio Manager, so there is no need for a click of a button. Once your properties are well set up, exports will automatically flow to Portfolio Manager on a monthly basis. Also within the portal, we have on-screen reports, and all of your properties information, including usage data, is easily downloadable within the portal. To access the portal, please go to buildingenergyusage.coned.com and set up a new profile. Next slide, please. Now, if you're a new user to BEOP, one of the first things you'll do when setting up your profile is selecting a user role. Now, you have to be really careful when selecting a user role because whatever selection is made cannot be modified. You would have to create an entirely new profile if you do make the wrong selection. So within BEOP, there are two user roles. The first one is the authorized requester, and then we also have the self-requester. So the self-requester is typically the building owner. So it's the building owner trying to request consumption data for their property within the portal. The second and most popular option is the authorized requester, and that is typically someone who's acting on behalf of the building owner. So it's usually like a third-party consultant or a property manager who is trying to receive consumption data on behalf of a property owner or their client. So make sure you select the right role that applies to your account to receive consumption data for your properties. Next slide, please. So once you've gotten all set up and you've selected the right user role, for returning and new customers, the first page you will get to once you log into BUP would be your dashboard. On your dashboard, there are 9 tiles that offer useful links to key pages within the portal. So I'm going to run through all 9 tiles and what they mean. Starting off on the far left-hand corner of the page, you're going to see the tile where you can easily see all approved properties within your portal. For the middle tile on the top, you're going to see all approved properties within your portal that have not been shared with Portfolio Manager. So this is quite useful if you're trying to see properties that need to be shared with Portfolio Manager, just so that you can enable exports to ESPM. On the far right-hand corner on the top, you're going to see all properties that have a pending authorization in your queue. So this is where we ask that you please take a look at all pending authorizations, because you would need to get with the property owner to approve the email that was sent to them. On the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see a quick link to all our support resources. So here you have our FAQs, our user guides, and additional support documents that will help you throughout the season. The bottom middle tile shows you a quick link to the property and meter report, and I'll touch on that in a minute. And then finally, on the far left-hand corner at the bottom, you have a quick link to add properties within the portal. Next slide, please. So for the purpose of this call, I'm going to provide information for authorized requesters. We do have some webinar series coming up, so we'll kind of go a step deeper into the different pages within the portal. But for the sake of this call, I'm going to show you how to add properties as an authorized requester. So as an authorized requester, you are going to go to the properties tab within the portal. You're going to select properties and you're going to select add a property. You can add up to 5 properties using this screen, or you can also select batch add properties to add up to 100 properties at a go. Now within the add property page, you can toggle between New York City and non-New York City properties. For the purpose of this call, I'm going to limit information to just New York City properties. So to add a property to BUP, you're going to need an 11 or 15-digit account number, and you can find that in your Con Edison bill. You're also going to need the latest and most up-to-date borrow, block, and lot information for your property, and that can be found on either the CBL or via DOB now. You're going to need an authorizer email address, and that will be the email address for the property owner. And finally, you're going to need your ESPM property ID. Once you have all these details filled in, you would hit add property, then our normal validations will occur. And once you click on submit, that property will move to a pending state. That is the phase where you have to get with the property owner to ensure that they approve access to their building's usage data. And once that is done, your property will move to an approved state. Next slide, please. Now, once your property is approved and well set up in the portal, one of the pages that you will find very useful is the Property and Meter Reports page. Now, you can access this page from the Data tab within the menu. So you click on Data, and then you click on Property and Meter Reports. And then on the page, you can toggle between Property Reports and Meter Reports. And there's a difference between both tabs. Now, so starting off with property reports, on this page, you can see annual property information for any property ID which you search for, and you can search for up to 100 properties at a time. So once you input the Portfolio Manager property ID in the search field and click on apply, the property level data will populate on the screen. And you will be able to see consumption data for all commodities that are applicable to your property, so electric, gas, and steam. Like I said, it has to be applicable. So if you don't have steam within your property, that data will come up as NA. On this page, you can also toggle between the current year and 2 years prior. So within the portal, we provide consumption data for 3 years. We're in 2026, so you can see consumption data all the way up to 2024. As with all pages within the portal, this information is easily downloadable. So you can download a CSV file and take a deep dive into your data, run some analytics, and kind of come up with any questions, if any, and send to our team if you're trying to understand your data in depth. Next slide, please. On the same page, you can click on Meter Reports, and here on the Meter Reports page, you can see a breakdown of consumption data on the meter level for each month. So on the property reports, data is provided on an annual level. On the meter reports, it's broken down per meter per month. So within the meter reports page, you can also see additional information like the number of accounts that roll up to each meter that is provided. You can also see the number of physical meters at your property. For BOP, we have a concept called a virtual meter. So what that means is we do not provide consumption for each physical meter within the portal. Consumption is aggregated for all physical meters, and we use the concept of a virtual meter to mask the physical meters. A virtual meter essentially is an aggregate of all physical meters at your property that share the same service address and meter service class. And this is the same information that gets populated in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So within the meter report, similar to the property reports, you can download this information and look further into your property's data. Next slide, please. Another very useful page within the portal would be the Portfolio Manager connection page. If you're a first-time user, this is the information that you would see when you go onto this page. Essentially, what you're going to do is to click the blue button and log into Portfolio Manager to establish a connection between ESPM and BOP. Once a connection is established, you will be able to see a breakdown of all properties that are shared with us, essentially shared with Edison via Portfolio Manager. Now, once an account is linked and when all properties are shared, you don't have to repeat this process every year. So your share and your connection will persist every year until severed by the client. Please note that it could take up to 15 minutes for Edison to accept your share request. But once we do, your properties will show, all properties that are shared will be listed on this page. Next slide, please. Now, once your Portfolio Manager profile is connected with your BOP account, this is the page, your Portfolio Manager connection page will look similar to this. Here you can see a breakdown of all properties that have been shared from Portfolio Manager with BOP. On this page, you're able to see when last consumption was sent for a property and when next consumption will be sent for a property. You can also see the time range of consumption that was sent and also your borrow block and lot information. So it's very helpful when you're trying to track or trace or get an estimate for when next consumption will be sent for a certain month for your property. Please note that there is sort of like a 2-month lead time between when consumption is sent. So say, for example, in March, you will start to see consumption data for January 2026 populate. And this is to allow us complete all processes to make sure that consumption is complete. So our estimation logic will go into effect if there are any gaps in your data. And once we've compiled a complete data set, we will begin our export processes. So the lead time allows us to complete all needed processes to ensure consumption accuracy for your properties. Next slide, please. So that concludes the high-level demo for the portal. For the next part of the presentation, I'm going to go into best practices, where to find support, and also incentives that are offered by Edison. Next slide. So some new changes to the portal. On a general level, the same processes will apply this year as in previous years. So if you're not new to benchmarking and you've been benchmarking for the last couple of years, the same processes will apply. So you're not going to have to do anything different as long as your property is shared with us and consumption has been populated in the previous months, consumption will continue to populate moving forward. However, we've made some slight changes to the portal to kind of improve data accuracy, and I'm going to run through a couple of these updates. Starting off with the property and meter reports, we've standardized the language across inactive meters. So you would start to see a tooltip icon next to a meter if it goes into an inactive state or if it is dissociated from your property. As we all know, lots change for some properties, so there's a likelihood that a meter could leave your property and move over to a different lot. If that happens, we will put a tooltip message next to the meter within the meter reports. And if you toggle over that tooltip, you will be able to see more information regarding that inactive meter. As regards inactive meters, we also have a new process to automatically set not in use dates for meters in ESPM. So say, for example, your meter goes inactive in February 2025. Our new process will automatically populate the rest of the year with zeros to ensure that there are no gaps for the entire year. And then we will set the date that the meter went inactive to 1/1/2026, so January 1st, 2026. This will allow you to submit a whole year's worth of data to ESPM, and then in the subsequent years, that meter would no longer be populated. However, if this meter returns to an active state, we would return that meter to an active state based on the month and year it goes active. And this process is all automated, so you do not have to make any changes within Portfolio Manager when your meter goes inactive. Next slide, please. So here are some useful things to do just before the season to make sure that you benchmark successfully. One of the first things is to verify that your BBL information is the latest and most up to date. You can do so by going through the covered buildings list or going through the DOB Now records for your property. Here you would see the latest BBL associated to that property. And if you do see a mismatch between the BBL information in the portal and the information within DOB Now or the covered buildings list, please reach out to us. You can send an email to citybenchmarking@conner.com. But as a first step, we ask that you reject or remove the property from the portal and re-add using the latest BBL information. Another thing to note is that you have to check that your property and all meters at your property are well connected. For some reason, throughout the years, you might have disconnected the share between Energy Star Portfolio Manager and BIOP. So before the season kicks off, to make sure that you have the right amount of consumption data within Portfolio Manager, please make sure that your property is shared, and not just the property, but all meters within the property. If you're unsure if the share, if a share exists, we ask that you unshare that property and start up from the beginning. So unshare with Con Edison, then reshare with Con Edison from Portfolio Manager, giving us access to all meters within your property. And if you need more guidance on sharing properties, I have the user guide linked here. All details are within section 6 of the user guide. Next slide, please. Here's some information regarding troubleshooting. We have an amazing support team that are available to help with any support issues, but here are some ways that you can troubleshoot issues that you may encounter during the season before you reach out to the team. So say, for example, your property defaults to an on-hold state within the portal. That means that the property is not on the latest CBL list and it failed our data privacy checks. So if you see that your property is on hold, please fill out a letter of authorization form and send us the form via email. So citybenchmarking@conner.com. We would review that form and all the details, and if everything is as needed, we would enable consumption for that property. If consumption data suddenly ceases in ESPM, we ask that as a first step, you unshare that property and then reshare, giving us full access to all meters at the property. The letter of authorization form can be found within our support catalog or via the BOP webpage, and all links will be within this presentation. Next slide, please. And finally, we've gotten some questions regarding reporting consumption by bin and if the Building Energy Usage Portal will be sending consumption by bin. Our processes remain the same this year, so consumption will be provided on a BBL level, but the DOB has outlined some steps on how to apportion consumption on a bin level. Within Portfolio Manager, you would need to set up child properties and assign the gross floor area and also the property use type correctly to each child property. Once this is done, this information will populate in BIM on a BBL level, and the bin level consumption will be apportioned accordingly. So please make sure that the setup within Portfolio Manager is accurate, because that would be the basis for the apportioning within bin. Just to reiterate, we will still be sending consumption on a BBL level for all properties from BIOP. Next slide, please. And then finally, throughout the season, we are readily available for any support inquiries. If you do encounter issues throughout the season, either for the issues across the portal or just understanding your data, please reach out to us at citybenchmarking@coned.com. Similarly, you could also send an email to locallaw97support@coned.com or call us. We also offer weekly support office hours from 3 to 4 p.m. every Wednesday throughout the season. But before reaching out to the team, we ask that you please check out our support catalog within the portal. You would find our user guide, some frequently asked questions, and additional support documents around 97 and 84 compliance. I think that concludes our session today. Thank you all, and I'll pass on to my colleague Laziza to run through the incentives that Con Edison offers.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. Now we will be hearing from Laziza Rakimova from Con Edison. Hi, Laziza. Please begin when you are ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriela. Hi, everyone. I'm a Senior Business Development Manager with Con Edison. In my part, I want to briefly walk through Con Edison's energy efficiency and building electrification portfolio priorities and incentive programs, focusing on how we support building decarbonization across New York. This work is closely aligned with our clean energy commitment to empower all customers to reach their decarbonization goals. Our portfolio is built around two core pillars: weatherization and building electrification. Weatherization is currently in the spotlight, focusing on improving the performance of the existing buildings. This includes upgrades such as window replacement, secondary glazing, insulation, air sealing, and other measures that reduce energy waste. These improvements are foundational because they reduce heating and cooling loads, help manage grid demand, and ensure that electrification solutions can operate more efficiently. We have committed and we were authorized for $128 million of an average annual spend for these measures. Also, looking at the portfolio more broadly, we can switch to the next slide. Con Edison supports several program tracks. On the next slide, Con Edison supports several program tracks designed to address different building types and customer needs, including relevant for this audience, multifamily buildings with 5+ unit. I don't think we switched the slides, at least I don't see it on my end. Yes, perfect. Thank you. So relevant for this audience, multifamily buildings, 5+ units. We manage both affordable and market rate programs and commercial and industrial facilities energy efficiency programs for customers with 100 kilowatt or above annual load. Over the past few years, the incentive portfolio has evolved. We have moved away from incentivizing straightforward maintenance type measures such as steam trap replacement, chiller boiler tune-ups, now code required measures such as lighting upgrades. Instead, the focus today is on deeper retrofits that deliver larger energy savings and emissions reductions, such as heat recovery, advanced controls, building envelope. That said, there is still a wide range of incentives available, which can be found in our program manual. The link will be included in the slides for your reference. Through our electrification programs that are embedded in our multifamily and C&I programs now, we support technologies such as air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, heat pump water heaters, wastewater heat recovery. All our projects are capped at 1 million, and we cover 50% of the total project cost. The cap is a little bit higher for multifamily buildings. To ensure projects move forward efficiently, we follow a structured program process. On the next slide, you can see our incentive application process. We work with you before you officially submit an application package. We will check project eligibility, help guide you to for an optimal incentive path. Once we have an application package, we set a pre-inspection, send a preliminary offer letter, notice to proceed, and after the installation, we would conduct a post-inspection, and then we release the incentive payment. That's in a nutshell the process. We have a dedicated team of business development managers and technical advisors who will be supporting you throughout the entire process. To conclude, I would like to say that overall our programs are designed to make it easier for building owners to adopt energy efficiency and electrification technologies, reduce emissions, and support the transition to a cleaner and more resilient and affordable energy system in New York. Organizers have my contact information. If you have a project you would like to discuss, I will be happy to connect later. Thank you.
Thank you, Laziza. Appreciate your time and presentation. Okay, so now we'll hear from Luis Rizzo and Becky Badalato from National Grid. Just give me a second, Luis.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Great. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you, everyone. Just want to introduce myself. My name is Luis Rizzo. I'm the manager of the commercial sales and energy solution team for the New York City and Long Island regions. So I'll present some information about our energy stock portfolio manager. I'm going to go through, I guess, from start to finish, just to make sure, but I'm going to be covering it really quickly. All these slides and information that are going to be presented today is going to be available. So if you click the button, the little icon looks like, and you can download the slides to look at your leisure to get more information on there. But I'm just going to go through the National Grid process to help you move forward. So our benchmarking portal has gone through multiple revisions over the years, and we're currently doing an upgraded to our system now. We've heard a lot of responses for building owners that have corner properties that have multiple service addresses, because our system is linked to individual service addresses. So what we're allowed to do right now is we revise our system to allow multiple service addresses. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So we've enhanced our system to allow multiple service addresses to be added on, especially for our properties, corner properties that have more than one service address, so you can capture all the usage within the building. And this is what we do is we'll upload the aggregate usage data. So we're allowing up to 10 service addresses to be added on that will allow buildings to upload usage data. We've also enhanced our web form to revise our web form. Our data pulling system on the back end, we've enhanced our system to ensure more accuracy of our data and information, so you get the most updated information. We also made some additional enhanced system improvements because we're with our legacy systems to enhance the customer experience. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So this may be a little basic for some of the customers, but this is more for some of the new users. I just wanted to go through it fairly quickly, just to make sure that everyone is aware of what they need to do. With the National Grid process, with the National Grid process, the way it starts off, you would have to initially go to Portfolio Manager, create a user profile, and link to National Grid, which is a two-step process. The initial process is one, establishing the initial connection with us, and two, once you establish a connection, then you submit that share request with us to go forward. So the initial process is go to Portfolio Manager to create an account and to establish that connection request. Next slide, please. Make sure you put National Grid Web Services when you're establishing the connection request, so it links to us. Once you make that initial establishment, you said submit send, and then you get a confirmation back. Next slide, please. Once you set up that slide, it's just going through step by step when you're setting up the new process, which is pretty much similar to many other utilities that are currently doing it. So you just hit the setup process exchange, click that button, and it moves to the next screen. Next slide, please. Make sure when you're populating it, you're setting up National Grid Web Services to ensure you're getting from the right utility connection with us. Establishing. Next slide, please. Okay, one of the key things when you're setting up a connection request with us is just please note that you have to give us full access to the meters that we're uploading. Not necessarily when you give us full access to the meters. We're not concerned about any other meters, electric or any other meters that you've already established. What we only want is full access to the meters that we upload, so we can upload or download information or correct information if need be in the future to do that. So we need full access to that, to those meters those virtual meters that we created in Energy DOB Portfolio Manager. We just want to make sure we have full access so we can read and write access, so we can upload, and we can also do quarterly refresh on the system. So this is very important. So just note again that we're not going to view, or we can't see any other meters that you currently have on the system. We can only view and see the meters that we create and we upload the data. Next slide, please. Okay, once you submit that share request with us and give share, just get confirmation. You get a confirmation that you have access to, you've linked to National Grid. Next slide, please. Next slide. So once you establish that connection request with National Grid, that's when you go into National Grid website and submit a web form, a benchmarking web form that helps us link what your Portfolio Manager account is to the National Grid data, so we can upload appropriate information to the appropriate areas. So for first-time users, they would select the region. When they go to our website, they will select the region. It gives you Massachusetts or New York. You select New York. Then you select the region that you're specifically interested in, upstate, New York City, or Long Island. Once you do that, you select business. And if any time that you're on the site, if you're not sure you're in the correct area, on the upper left-hand section of the slide, the toolbar, which shows you what region that you're in. You want to make sure, especially if you're in the New York City region, that you're in New York City, Metro New York area. So we're providing you data or linking the data correctly to that region itself. Next slide, please. Once you establish that link, I just want to note too, is once you establish a link with us, it generally takes about 24 hours for us to make that link together. So you can submit all the forms in, but it just takes about 24 hours to make that full connection. You can either, what our web page would gives you, if you haven't already established a link, you don't know where that Energy DOB Portfolio Manager website is. Once you go to our benchmarking website, it gives you the option to either give you a link that brings you to Energy DOB Portfolio Manager, or to submit the web form to continue the process after you've created your profile. So the second link that says, it's a little bit of an eye chart, but it says Portfolio Manager web form, you click that link, the second little arrow, and then it brings you to the next slide. Next slide, please. So the next slide is a web form. It's a pretty straightforward web form. What we recently did is we enhanced the web form, made some changes to it. So we want the Energy Star Portfolio Manager account, property ID in the beginning of the page, also the username associated with that property ID. And also provide information on who's submitting it in. There's some drop-down slides, address, service, and so forth. This is information on who's initially. The first section of information is generally is the portfolio manager account, and also who's submitting in the request. So we have to keep a record of who's submitting that request in. Just please note that make sure that your portfolio manager username and property ID is the same as its Energy Star Portfolio Manager that you have entered in there. Make sure you're not, I guess sometimes mistyping the name information. Make sure, please double check that before you submit it into us. If not, once you submit your web form request, if it doesn't match the link that we currently have, it's going to get rejected. So just take 2 moments out when you're doing this to make sure you're populating the correct information. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we've initially enhanced, like I indicated, is when you're populating it, we ask you to give us all the service address information on the property that you're looking to get usage information. Service address information can be found also on a customer bill. It's indicated in the top portion of the bill itself. It identifies the service address and so forth. And you enter in, all we need is one account number, one active account number, that is. It can't be an inactive account number. It must be an active account number that you would type in that's associated or that's linked to that service address. Make sure that the service address that you provided and that account number are the same, in the sense that they're in the same location, same building. If you're looking to add on additional service addresses because you have maybe a corner property or maybe a building that has multiple service addresses, you see there's a green arrow button there now. It's a new enhancement that we add, that you would click that enhancement and it will allow you to add in additional service addresses. Next slide, please. So this is pretty much will give you a good flavor of what it's going to look like when you're adding additional service addresses. Right now we did population of 3 just to give you an idea of what it is. So you would populate all the information, and as you populate it, it gives you a list of what information that you currently uploaded in there. At any option at this point, you can make any edits or changes if you wish, or any corrections prior to submitting that form. Once you submit this form, it goes into the system and no corrections to be made. Any corrections that be made from this point on has to go through our call center. You have to notify our call center, and they can manually have IT make adjustments or corrections to that. So just be mindful of that. So before you hit submit and you submit this form in, make sure you have all the information correctly. This is a service address that you're looking for this specific property, and you're looking everything correctly. Next slide, please. And it just gives you an indication of, it tells you how many properties you're currently submitting in. So you're aware if you're submitting in 2, or if you delete one, you can delete one. It tells you you're deleting it itself. So we try to make it as user-friendly and make sure very, very clear for you as far as what you're doing, when you're doing it, and what you're submitting into National Grid when you're asking for usage information. Next slide, please. It's going to ask you, we have an online authorization, so make sure that's, clicks on my robot, and also an online consent form that indicates that you have obtained or you have all the appropriate documentation that allows you to release or receive that information. Just be mindful of, if there's an audit, make sure that you have all the appropriate documentation, information, and release forms on hand if you ever get reviewed and so forth. And then once you hit OK, it gives you another indication to make sure that this is the number of properties that you're submitting in. Is this correct? At any point, you can correct it prior to submitting it completely, hitting OK and submitting it in. But it does pop up quite a bit of options, pop-up screens that ensures that you're doing the correct, submitting in the correct properties, and this is what the information that you want to submit in. Next slide, please. This just gives you an example of where the service address is located, like I was indicating, on the top of the bill. So it indicates the service address, the name associated with it, and the service address for that property. So just an extra little for your own personal knowledge. Next slide, please. And customers that submit in their information itself, you're going to get different error codes, or you can get an approval that says your request is officially submitted in. So depending on the error codes that you have, the system will allow you to go back in. What it'll actually do is it will keep all the initial information, the profile information that you have, but it'll require you to correct either the service address or the account number as it goes through the validation process. So make sure you make the appropriate corrections and then resubmit those forms in appropriately. One thing that we currently have too is that we want to show that you that allows that you also have the option to, so customers that have an existing portfolio manager system account right now, and they're looking to add on an additional service address to an existing web form connection. So you don't have to enter in the initial account number itself or the initial profile number that you initially created the system. You just need to add on the additional service addresses that you want to add to that existing Energy Star profile that you currently have set up. So if you already have a web connection with us and you're looking to add on additional service addresses because it's a corner property and you want to marry all the usage information into one account, you just go back into the system, enter the initial information in. But when you get to the service address, all you're doing is adding on the 2 additional or 3 additional, whatever the case may be, additional service addresses, and that we'll link to that service address, and then we'll upload data from that point on. You have a couple of different options of which way to do it. We can add data to the existing account itself. So you're going to get a usage spike, so to speak, because you're adding on to additional meters that we currently have set up. Or you can we can do it in a way that you can set up to a new meter. So we'll set up a new virtual meter for you, which will go forward, which will include the additional service addresses that you have on that. What that means is once you do that, we're going to break off the other service address link that we currently have, and we'll just upload data going forward to the new one, to the new virtual meters. So there's a couple different options and different choices that you have as a customer. Everything is going to be self-explanatory on our website, and you're going to have quite a bit of frequently asked questions going to be updated with those, and also too to walk you through any kind of process or any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. Okay, and just a reminder, when you're uploading usage information, it's generally what we initially do is we usually go back the prior year. So just for initial requests is when you submit let's say if you would submit your usage information request, the initial request, a brand new user in April, what we'll do is we'll upload extract data from 2025, the whole entire fiscal year, the whole entire calendar year itself. And then when you get the quarterly refresh coming up, when we do the quarterly refresh in June, what's in July, that is, it's going to go back to the prior 6 months that you're missing and give you up to date. So it'll keep you up to date itself. So the initial ask is we'll just upload initial prior information, and then the first quarterly refresh will provide you with the remaining information for this year itself going forward. So this gives you just an idea of how the time schedule generally runs and the quarterly refresh at different periods. Next slide, please. And we're also, the good thing about our system too is we'll allow you to get 2 additional years of usage information. So we do have an option for customers to get 2 additional historical usage years of information. As long as you use the site, you can go in and submit a request in, and to get 2 additional years of usage information. Next slide, please. Okay, when you go into additional usage information, all you need to do is provide your portfolio manager ID number and indicate which years that you want, which prior 2 years. Is it 24 and 23? Provide your portfolio manager ID number, property ID number that is, confirm and submit it. No need to re-enter all the information in because we already have that share request. All we're doing is going to add in additional data, 2 years of additional usage data to your existing portfolio manager account. Next slide, please. Okay, and it just goes, this is just going through the different steps. I'm not a robot, the same consent form and so forth, and you hit submit and it goes through our system. Next slide, please. So this is information on, go back a little bit. Go back one if you can. No, go forward one more. That was weird. Okay, just wanted to let you know, just give you a little summary of just give you an example of what the type of data we cut and upload. We upload information into 2 separate meters. One is all cooking accounts aggregated all together, and heating and water heating accounts that are set up will upload into a separate meter itself. So you're going to see actually when you get data from National Grid, you're going to see 2 virtual meters on the system, which will give you their usage, the aggregate usage for the building itself. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation, but just information on if you need to contact us via email or phone. We have a call center set up that can help answer any kind of call, any questions that you may have about our system. If there's any kind of issues that you may be currently experiencing, we have a great call center set up. They're very experienced, very knowledgeable to help you answer any questions. And I just want to give a quick plug. I didn't know National Grid has a whole host of energy efficiency programs similar as Con Edison. So please visit our website to get information on weatherization programs and new programs for the 2026 year. Thank you. I know I have here questions, but I guess we'll move on to the next presenter.
Thank you, Luis. And now we'll be hearing from Becky. Lizzie, are you going next?
I think so. Unless Lou and Becky, you have something that you want to add on the National Grid side before we move on.
Thank you. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Lizzie McNevin. I'm with the New York City Accelerator, and some of you might be familiar with us, but we're undergoing some updates that I'm really excited to share with you. But I'm going to try to be quick so we have time for the New York City Sustainability Help Center. So let's get going on to the next slide. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this presentation is that the updated New York City Accelerator is a connector for all of the things related to reducing emissions, increasing efficiency across your New York City buildings. We're not just another disconnected stop or a box to check on the way to compliance. We're here to identify and create customizable scopes of work that tie directly to your emission limits. We're also providing direct connection points between decision makers and service providers, like many of you, including contractors, financing providers, and more. We'll also be offering on our end free technical guidance for navigating those complex conversations. We'll be offering that level of service to our service providers as well as the building owners and managers. And on offer is also extensive trainings and capacity building opportunity, but I'm going to go into that a little bit later. So as you'll see on the next slide, over the past 5 years, we have been supporting retrofit work and driving opportunities directly into the hands of service providers. So the New York City Accelerator that you might be familiar with has been pretty successful in this effort. But we did recognize that there was room for improvement and have been in a transition period. On the next slide, you'll see that since November, this transition process has been to prepare for upgraded services that are going to be available in the next month. So we're really excited to share new tools, new resources that are going to provide up-to-date building insights, custom retrofit planning, incentive and finance integration, direct contractor procurement, and transparent project tracking. So we're going to have a bunch of new tools that will be available to you, again, starting in around April in the next month. So hopefully that sounds good to you, but to move on, to the next slide, I'll ask you, even though I just said, there's one takeaway, I'll ask you to take away a few more things from this. One, the updated New York City Accelerator is going to provide more targeted support to all buildings types, not just those facing local law 97 compliance, but all a diverse array of buildings. Everyone is going to have access to really powerful tools, which leads me to number 3, that you are going to be able to have useful, customizable self-service help when you want it. and then one-on-one support, particularly when you need it. So that means, all of the tools, they're going to be available for you to use whenever you want. They're going to be customizable so you can navigate and access all of the resources that you need. But as we all know, sometimes navigating the different services and groups that are available to move forward local law 97 compliance, but also the wider New York City compliance landscape can be a little complex. So that's where we're going to have one-on-one support when we need to be that to connect the dots there. And finally, the resources are designed with you in mind, and not just about the latest rules and the details about compliance and incentive programs and more, but are going to be informed by your needs. So on the next slide are a few things that I want to bring to your attention for what's coming, specifically for the folks on this phone call. So we're updating the service provider program to really serve as the connective tissue for service providers, meaning contractors, engineers, auditors, capital providers, and more. Everyone who's helping buildings reach local law 97 compliance. We'll have more to share on this in April, but I mean, here's the highlight reel. We're going to have multi-faceted project support for you, and be able to support you with all of your projects and see what incentives may be available that or that you need to have support navigating in between, and compliance guidelines or other service providers that you might need to get connected to, as well as kind of a more programmatic support that is designed to let your business scale in this local law 97 landscape. We'll also have education and training resources, along with co-branded materials that are really going to be designed to make your projects as smooth as possible for you, but also for all of the folks that you're working with who are, as we know, at various education levels. And what we're really excited about is a highly trained talent pipeline that we want to use to increase your capacity as you need it. We don't just want to, make another workforce development program that, is creating talent that isn't really filling the gaps that our service providers have pointed out they need filled. So what we're going to be doing is really focus on understanding the capacity needs of our service providers and then aligning the talent pipeline to fill those. So this is the updated service provider program highlight reel. It's coming soon. So on the next slide, this is what we'll be rolling out in the next month or so in April. New services, programs, resources, tools. Although we are continuing to offer interim services, if you're interested in hearing exactly when and what all of these upgrades are live, including how to be a part of this improved service provider program, feel free to contact us in any of the ways that we have listed here. We have our website, accelerator.nyc. This has our contact form. This has our fine calculator. This has the service provider directory, capital provider directory, of which all of these links are here. We also have an email, info@accelerator.nyc, a phone number. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to A, get in touch with us, but B, just kind of use this as a way to raise your hand and say, hey, I want to learn more once you're fully upgraded in April. So this contact info and all of my slides, they're in the materials section, as Luke has pointed out, of this webinar. It looks a little different depending on what your browser device that you're on, but there is a PDF that will have my slides and this information, and also it's going to be able to be found on the ASHRAE website after this meeting concludes. So I hope you were all able to keep up with me there, and I'll pass it back to Luke.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. And now we will turn it over to Mashrat Ahmed from New York City Sustainability Help Center. Hello, Mashrat. how are you doing? Let me just quickly enable your mic.
Thank you, Luke, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to this presentation by the New York City Sustainability Help Center. Today, I'll be walking you through some key considerations as you file your benchmarking for this 2026 compliance cycle. So before we begin, a little bit about the New York City Sustainability Help Center, who we are, what we do. We're a free resource for building owners, property managers, and individuals who have questions about New York City sustainability laws and procedures. This ranges anywhere from Local Law 84 to 33, 87, 88, 97. We're part of the CUNY Building Performance Lab, which is a nonprofit delivering free and low-cost training in energy-efficient operations to building professionals at every stage of their journey. Next slide. So one slide before, sorry. So in today's presentation, we'll just be going over some of the steps that you need to complete as you benchmark this year. Please note that this presentation is intended for users who have already benchmarked in prior years. So some of the details we will not be going over in granular detail. Next slide. So the hub of benchmarking in New York City is through nyc.gov/NYC benchmarking. This is the DOB's webpage, which contains your Local Law 84 covered buildings list, any frequently asked questions that you might have or need answers to. And as you scroll along the page, you'll also see the 7 compliance steps that you need to take in order to benchmark successfully for any given year. Next slide. So here are the 7 outlined steps on the DOB webpage for completing your benchmarking for any given year. The city's instructions include details on setting up your portfolio manager account, user guides from National Grid and Con Edison, and other resources and information. Please note that if you are submitting a report for the first time, then you would need to create a portfolio manager account and subsequent portfolio manager property profile. For the sake of this presentation today, we'll not be going over that step, but I'll have more information at the end of this presentation if there's some of you who need any refreshers on that. Next slide. So the first step in benchmarking every single year is to check the Local Law 84 covers buildings list. When you go to the DOB website, you'll find the covered buildings list in 2 formats. Next slide. So the covered buildings list is posted at the beginning of every single compliance cycle. This is posted in an Excel or PDF format. We recommend users to be using the PDF format because it's the most manageable form of way to search for your building on the covered buildings list. To check if your building is on the covered buildings list, you're going to have to use your 10-digit BBL combination, which I'll cover in the next few slides. Next slide, please. All right. So before I get to that, what happens if you have never reported water before for your building? So as I mentioned, you'd be searching the covered buildings list using your 10-digit BBL or borough block and lot combination. You won't have any dashes in between, and you'll be using that BBL number to search for your building on the covered buildings list. Similarly, if you want to check if your building is required to file for water, on the covered buildings list, next to the BBL that you have, there is another column labeled required to report automated water data. Under that column, if your building is marked as yes, then you know you are required to benchmark for water usage that compliance cycle. The DEP, or Department of Environmental Protection, also has an easy-to-use guide on how to navigate this process of connecting and sharing and gaining the automated utility data for your property. And we at the Sustainability Help Center also have a helpful video on our YouTube page that goes over how this entire process works. Next slide. So the next and essential step, the point of all this is to check for your utility data uploads and gather your aggregate usage data. When you click on the plus sign to expand this step on the DOB webpage, you'll see that there is an energy and water data page that you can click into. Next slide. So on the energy and water data page, you'll be able to see all of the utility user guides, instructions, and any respective contact information that you might need as you go about doing your benchmarking for the year. If you still haven't set up automated uploads, we highly recommend that you do so. The city strongly encourages automated uploads as automated uploads guarantee that your data is up to date, your metrics are accurate, and data uploads will also save you time and may increase your data accuracy when it comes to generating a proper Energy Star score. Additionally, since sorry, just one last point on the last slide. Additionally, since Local Law 84 benchmarking requires whole building data reporting, the only way to gather that data is through connecting with your utility providers and then uploading your automated utility data to your portfolio manager profile. Next slide. So here on the screen, we have two images. On the left-hand corner, you can see your energy data, and then on the right-hand corner, there's the water data. So on the energy tab on Portfolio Manager, you'll see that the gas and electric meters are uploaded there. And on the right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see the water data, which has been populated by the DEP. If the most recent bill date on the column shows 12/31/25 or later, then you know that your usage data is up to date and your 2025 data has been added. Also, a side note, Con Edison uploads data on a monthly basis, National Grid on a quarterly basis, and DEP will add your data into your profile at the beginning of every compliance cycle. Next slide. So now that we've taken care of that, let's look at another issue that Linda touched on during her presentation, which is ensuring that your borough block and lot number is standardized in a 10-digit string and ensuring that your bin number is also accurate. Next slide. So the borough block and lot number is a 10-digit combination which contains your borough. This could be anywhere from 1 to 5, depending on which borough your property resides in. Your block, which is a 5-digit number, and your lot, which is a 4-digit number. This generates your 10-digit BBL combination. Please note that on Portfolio Manager, it is essential that you enter this combination without any dashes or spaces in between. You'd have to enter it exactly as you see on the screen. Additionally, the BIN or building identification number is a unique identifier relative to your physical building. And the BIN is a 7-digit number that is unique to every building. If you have multiple BBLs or bins, you will be separating them with a semicolon. Although this is not very common, we like to bring this to everyone's attention so you're aware in case you do have multiple bins. And it's also crucial that your BBL and bin number are accurate on the very first time that you enter that information into your usage section because the Portfolio Manager error checker will actually not pick up this error if you were to have the wrong number. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the Portfolio Manager error checker is very vital to run because it will pick up some of the basic errors that you might have with your property. The error checker will confirm if your energy and water meter data have any gaps in them. It'll also check for some common errors such as discrepancies in the uses that you have listed. However, it does not look at all the meter metrics for your property, which we'll be covering in the next few slides coming up. Next slide. So under the Summary tab on Portfolio Manager, you'll be going to the section labeled Check for Possible Errors, which will navigate you to this error checker. In this error checker, you'll set the time frame to December 31st, 2025, which accounts for the calendar year 2025 that you're benchmarking for. Once you run checker, you might see a variety of errors that come up. The first one that is very common is property has no waste or material meters. You can safely ignore this because New York City does not require you to report waste data for benchmarking purposes. You can also ignore any error related messages that you may see regarding water data, and that is only if you're not required to benchmark for water that given year. Next slide. So as I mentioned prior to this, there are some common errors that have been coming up in the last reporting cycle that we wanted to take a closer look at as we go through this presentation. So many properties would receive an incorrect number of meters or incorrect site EUI error flag on beam that was not picked up on Portfolio Manager. So we'll just be going over that since the Portfolio Manager error checker does not pick that up. So in this slide, you can see that we have two sets of tables. The first one, the meter used to compute metrics, where all your active meters should lie. And the next one, the additional meters not used in metrics, where we keep all our inactive meters. However, in this second image, you'll see that there is a natural gas meter, which marked as yes, and it has current year data. However, it is placed in the additional meters not used in metrics section. This will generate an incorrect site EUI or incorrect number of meters error because you have placed an active meter in a place that it does not belong. And in order to fix this, we'll essentially be changing our meter selections to reflect the accurate meter dynamic that exists for our property. Next slide. So all currently active meters with data for the reporting year must be in the meters used to compute metrics section, and vice versa for all inactive meters that you have. So on Portfolio Manager, to reflect this change, we want to click Change Meter Selections, and you will be unchecking all the inactive meters you have and checking all the active meters that contain current year usage data. After you have made this change, you want to ensure that you also click on tracking total consumption, as this will ensure that your aggregate utility data is being tracked for the property. Once you apply selections, this will make the change reflective to your Portfolio Manager profile. Next slide. So in 2025, as you know, the submission process for benchmarking changed. There's no longer a reporting template required to submit your report. The DOB has simplified this process into a very simple and navigable connection and sharing process. Please note that if you have already shared your property in the year prior, you do not need to share it again unless you have for some reason unshared your property with the City of New York. Next slide. So, and the last step here, as outlined on the DOB webpage, we need to connect and share our properties with the city through ESPM. So for the next couple of slides, I'll just be going over this as if you were doing this for the very first time. So in this slide, we see here, you'll be clicking on the Contacts tab, which is located on the top right-hand corner of your Portfolio Manager account. Once you click on the top Contacts tab, you'll be navigated to the Add New Contact/Connections button. Once you click on that, you will be able to enter your designated username, which we'll see in the next slide. Next slide, please. In this slide, you see here, you'll be going directly to the username field and inserting the DOB's username exactly as you see on the screen, NYC GOV LL84, with no separators in between. Once you search, you should be able to see the city's username and user profile populate, and you can click on Connect to be directed to connect your property. Next slide. So once you send connection request, your connection request is then sent to the City of New York. Please note that the connection can take up to a day to be accepted. Next slide. So once the connection request is accepted, you can navigate to the Sharing tab. Before I move to this process, I'd like to note that Many users ask us oftentimes, how do I check if my property has been connected with the City of New York? It's quite an easy step. On Portfolio Manager, there is the Notifications tab, which you can use to check whether a connection request has been accepted or denied. So here we'll be going to the Sharing tab and clicking Share or Edit Access to a property. Next slide. So you will be able to select your property. If you have multiple properties, you'll also be able to select multiple. Once you do that, you will select the designated account that you want to share to, which is the City of New York. And then you'll grant personalized sharing and exchange data, which will prompt us to give some more information in the next slide. Next slide, please. So here we'll be giving read-only access and exchange data. Next slide. And you'll be prompted to give some more information in the following table. Here we want to grant read-only access for property information, read-only access for all your energy meters, as well as your water meter if you're required to report for water in that given year. And we will press none for goals, improvements, and checklists, as well as recognition, and mark no for share forward. Then we can click on apply selections and authorize exchange. Next slide. Now here, once you have selected the permissions that you'd like to provide, you are ready to share your property. You'll click on Share Properties. Next slide. And this will initiate your sharing request to go through to the City of New York. And you will see a green banner populated on the top of your Sharing tab, which will indicate that your sharing request has successfully been requested. Next slide. For properties that share their building for the first time, they will also be receiving a confirmation email from Beam, which serves as their proof of submission. Next slide. And a further confirmation email you'll receive in the set of the 4 emails that Linda mentioned in her presentation earlier, which will mark as share received, which confirms that DOB has received and accepted your benchmarking sharing request. Next slide. So in the last couple of slides, we essentially went over how to benchmark standalone properties. Now we'll take a look at when you have to submit a campus property, as that can be sometimes a difficult change to navigate in Portfolio Manager. So last compliance cycle, a lot of users would call us or email us and let us know that their building was located on the Local Law 97 covered buildings list, but it wasn't on the Local Law 84 covered buildings list. So they were confused as to whether, you know, they would have to benchmark their building. So if your building is on the 97 covered buildings list, you are still required to benchmark, even if it is not on the 84 list, because benchmarking is a prerequisite to be able to do 97 filing. Additionally, under the bin column on your 97 covered buildings list, if your building has multiple bins listed here, then you know that each of those relates to a physical building that you have on your tax lot, and you are required to submit your property as a campus configuration. Next slide. So here is a helpful visual on how to navigate when you're required to benchmark as a campus. So let's go through these together. The first one, where you have 2 or more buildings and they exist on the same BBL, you're required to benchmark as a campus. In the next example, we have 2 or more buildings that exist on 2 or more BBLs and they share energy. This is also to be benchmarked as a campus. In the next example, we have 1 standalone building with multiple use types. That doesn't matter too much. It is to be benchmarked as a standalone. And then the final example, we have 2 standalone buildings, the same owner, different BBLs, and they're not sharing energy. Then we know that these 2 buildings have to be benchmarked as separate standalone buildings and not as a campus. So our partners at Energy Star have come up with a helpful how to benchmark a campus guide, which goes over key terminology and features of a campus configuration. We highly recommend this to anyone that is looking to benchmark a campus for the first time. Next slide. So what does a campus look like in Portfolio Manager? So essentially what Portfolio Manager does is they utilize a campus, a parent to child relationship to visualize the campus configuration. So on the right hand corner of your screen, you can see that we have two child properties here. These reflect unique individual bins, and we have a parent, which is the virtual property that reflects the aggregate data and usage information that exists in the child properties. Next slide. So a little bit more on this. As I mentioned, Portfolio Manager uses the parent-child relationship to classify the campus configuration. So when you are setting up your campus property, you have one virtual parent property. The virtual parent property only serves as the aggregate consumption for all the aggregate consumption that you have for your child properties. And it also holds the combined GFA, building count, property use details, BBLs, bins, and other information. And as I mentioned, the bin is unique to every building. Every building has its own bin. And so the child property will reflect one individual unique bin. And it will represent the real building. So it will have the real world information that the physical building in real life would have. And it also contains the bin, BBL, GFA information. So in this slide, how many child properties should I create? So you create one child per physical building on the BBL. So let's say you have two buildings on a single BBL. You will require to create two child properties. That will most likely show up as you having two bins on the covered buildings list. And you also create a child for any building that shares energy with a building that is on the CBL, but the building that we're talking about, let's say it does not exist on the CBL, you would still have to benchmark for that. So we'll look at this in the next slide. So here you can see another helpful graphic on your screen. We have two buildings on the BBL ending with 0128, buildings marked A and B. And then we also have the BBL marked as 0127, which is not on the CBL, but building C here shares energy with building B. And in this scenario, a child property must be created for buildings C and D, because C and D are on the same tax lot, and then C shares energy with B. So essentially, that pulls in all of the buildings on these two separate tax lots together, and we have 4 child properties and 2 BBLs to benchmark. Next slide. So now let's just look at a shared data example here. A lot of people usually get confused about where to place their meters. So we have a house of worship here. We have an administrative office building and a school. So for this, we'd have to create 3 child properties on Portfolio Manager. And when we look at the meter configuration, we can see that there are some shared and some that are exclusive. So the house of worship shares a natural gas and heating with the school, and it shares electricity and water with the office. We also have the school, which has its own electric and water system, and the office is heated separately through fuel oil. So the unshared exclusive meters you can see here is marked in blue, which is the heating oil meter. This is contained in the respective child property. And then when it comes to the shared meters, those should be added to one of the child properties. For example, let's say the house of worship is sharing a heating system with the school. You might wonder where we might report the natural gas usage. We would recommend reporting that data in the child, where the physical meter exists in real life. And then if the heating system is located at the school, you can also report this shared usage for both the house of worship and the school in the school's property profile. And then the shared meter will also be listed under the school, but it represents shared usage for both buildings. You should also include any notes under your property notes section on Portfolio Manager in case there's additional details you'd like to share with DOB regarding how your meter configuration works as it relates to your campus. And finally, and this is very vital, you have to ensure that you associate all your child meters up to your parent. Next slide. So here we'll be briefly touching upon the multiple services address arrangement that Lewis touched on in his presentation. So National Grid uploads usage data per service address. So here is an example of a strip mall. We have, let's say, give or take around 8 or 9 properties here, each with their own unique service address. So here you would create a child property per service address in order to request the consumption data for a National Grid. And then there are also cases where you have maybe a standalone building that has more than one National Grid service address. In cases like those, even though you have a standalone building, you would still need to create a child property so you can obtain the gas usage for your additional service address. And then in the next slide, let's take a look at what this configuration looks like. So here on Portfolio Manager, we can see on the right-hand corner of our screen, there is the child to parent association and arrangement. There is the child properties that exist solely for National Grid to be able to upload the data per service address. And this allows us to aggregate the usage from the child up to the parent, ensuring that you have a complete report. Next slide. So that concludes the benchmarking section of our presentation. In the next few slides, I'll just be covering a few of the workshops and trainings that we have coming up that you might find helpful. So we have the How to Benchmark Refresher training coming up. We have 3 dates scheduled for March and April. If you'd like to register, go to cunybpltraining.org for more information. We also have 2 other refresher courses that we offer, which are the beginner training and the campus training. These are for larger groups, so if you have 10 or more people in your organization that you'd like to train, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to schedule a private session for you. Next slide. And we also have the Carbon Reduction Workshop Series and the very highly popular crash course on NYC Building Energy Laws, which is a 3-hour comprehensive class that goes over all of the relevant building energy related laws in New York City. We also have the 97 workshop, Your Emissions and Plan, a 2.5-hour workshop that goes over how to create a complete plan for your building to comply with Local Law 97 in New York City. Please note that both of these classes are free of charge, and we are excited to announce that we are now offering LEED and AIA credits for a crash course offering. Finally, the New York City Sustainability Help Center is available to answer any questions that you have as it relates to benchmarking. As you navigate the benchmarking season, you can feel free to reach us at the contact information on your screen. We're open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. via phone and email. Next slide. And that concludes our presentation today. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to connecting with you on any help that you need.
Thank you, Mashrat. Thank you, everyone, for joining our today's webinar. And a big thank you to the DOB team and all our presenters, and to everyone who helped organize these webinars. So this concludes our webinar today. We will share today's video recording with everyone within the next few days, and we'll also publish it online. And the same goes for the updated PDF containing today's presentation. We will send an update to everyone with those materials in a few days. And please take a look at the chat window now. We will be sharing a presentation evaluation link. And please take a minute to fill it out and provide your feedback. We will leave the webinar active for a few more minutes so that you can click or save the files, save all the links and contact email addresses. And that's all for today. Thank you for joining us this morning. Enjoy your lunch and have a great afternoon. I'll see you at our future webinars. Thank you.